Okay, number 4.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Nice. I didn't even know that came out that year.
Yeah.
I looked up a bunch of movies and that never came up. What the fuck? Huh. That's fucked up. I didn't know.
Would it have been in your top 5?
It would have got an honorable mention. I mean, actually, it came out in 86.
Oh no!
That's
Really?
why. Yeah, that's why it never showed up. 1986.
I looked on Box Office Mojo, so it must have made money in 1987 or been in theaters. But
I mean, it came out on December 19th of 86, so yeah, it would have still been in the thing. So Matt's disqualified as usual. He fucked up. That's okay. We'll accept it. My number 4 is a movie that did come out in 1987. I'm just kidding. We Are Live.
Whoa! How's it going?
Nice. Okay, I just want to make sure. A double whoa. To make up. For what? We'll find out. Good. How about you, man?
Not too good after watching this movie. I'm pretty bad about my choices.
Well, you should be. How dare you? It's like, you never knew what it was going to be, but yet the blame goes squarely on thee. Yeah, man. How's your week been? Just in general?
Pretty good.
Good.
How about you?
Yeah, same. Just, can't complain. Watching a movie and, well, I guess we can complain and we're about to. But, first world problems. Hashtag.
YOLO.
YOLO. You only...
Yoko, you only complain once.
Yeah. Definitely not on this podcast. I'm like, how bad would that be if literally we could only complain one time and then the rest of it was praise? It'd be like, sorry, this is the one time you can complain.
1 second podcast.
Yeah. I'd be like, ah. Well, I guess we're going to have to do this, but every step closer that we take, we have to get into the movie, so we might as well not delay it any longer. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid.
Yep.
Okay, nerd news. This news is nerdy. Go ahead.
I have a quick and easy one this week.
Nice.
American Movie is finally getting released on Blu-ray, which I think you're a fan of that, right?
American Movie? I don't know if...
Yeah, the documentary about the dude.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's like black and white, and the guy's like... It's like the guy spent like...
Mark Borchardt.
A ton of years trying to just finish his film. Yeah. Nice.
I don't think we've ever really talked about it, but I thought I remembered you had seen it and were a fan.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool just because of the whole like journey, and it's real. It's like,
Yeah. He's trying to make that movie Coven.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I feel like everybody's wanted to make a movie at some point. Like back in the day, we used to make like small little like 20-minute ones because after a while we would just get bored and want to go play games or something. But like, to be able to make a feature-length film, regardless of what it is, like, is still an undertaking. So, I don't know. That's something that I always wanted to do. I think, like, I don't know. I think that would be fun to, if we ever got some time to make a film, the two of us, and see what would happen. But maybe we'll be like the Red Letter Media movie that they made. But at least they made a movie. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Did they say like what you said it came out or it's coming out like on?
It's coming out. It's never been released before.
On like
there's a 20-year-old DVD, but that's it.
Yeah,
so.
That's awesome. Nice.
Yeah.
Some good news. We're getting some good news out of the way here. I have some good news coupled with some bad news. Well, it might not be bad, but it's kind of like a piece of chocolate that's like covered in like something you don't like the taste of. Like if you don't like the taste of like, I don't know, like say pickles or something, like it would be like that. So, Yurimatsu just resubscribed. He said, messing around. So, I guess Sony is making, since they did like that Uncharted movie, they're pretty much making like a bunch of these movies now based on their properties. And I really, really, really like Days Gone. I think it's one of the best games that was released in the last like couple like years and like that they've made and stuff like on their platform. And they're making a live action movie based on it, which I think is awesome. But one of the things I didn't understand is they're hiring some random guy from Outlander, Sam Heughan, to like play the top, like the guy Deacon St. John, when Sam Witwer played him in the game, did the voice acting and the motion capture, and like they could have just cast him because he already is an actor and looks like him and stuff. It's not like he looks nothing like him and he's too old. I mean, like he played Darth Maul and like a bunch of other stuff in Star Wars recently, so I don't know why they didn't just cast him. And they would have also probably saved on cost instead of hiring this guy that they think is like hot shit right now. But
that's a fair question. That Sam Witwer dude is super talented.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'd be great.
I met him and he was really cool and stuff, and like it was just one of those things where it was like they didn't make which is kind of weird that they're making a Days Gone movie, but like they didn't greenlight the studio wanting to make a Days Gone sequel for the game, even though it didn't do that bad. It did better than some of their other games out of the launch, like I think like Horizon and a couple other games. It sold more than those, but like it just wasn't, I guess, what they thought it was going to be, so they were like, nope. And I'm like, whatever, they're making a movie, but then they're not casting Sam Witwer. And I don't know if that's maybe because he's been known for doing smaller parts, but like to me it's like this guy has only done fucking Outlander, so like what the fuck, who cares? I don't know. I think it's stupid also because I don't know, he's kind of like skirting the edge of acting and voice acting, and I think that's why they're like, nope, we can't have like someone that's done a lot of voice acting in as our main guy, even though they could probably, I mean, he already played the character and it looks just like him in the game, so it's good they're making it, but at the same time I'm kind of like, why? Like, I don't know, he's not going to be like that character for me, so oh well, maybe they'll make a sequel to the game at least sometime, because it ended up selling a lot after it came out on like PC too, so yeah, I guess that's all I have for nerd news this week. How about you? You've said your piece. Are you ready to move on to Weird Watches?
Let's do it.
Weird Watches. Weird Watches. I'll do like the two different versions we have.
Weird Watch.
Bitch Week. Ishtar Week. Deadly Games Week. It's like, what? I still think the best one is Witch Week. That one will always be. I think that was the beginning, right? It was Witch Week?
Original classic. Yeah.
Witch Week. Or that one time you went to like that witch place and you were cracking up because you were like, witch. Or whatever.
Witch.
Yeah. Okay, so Deadly Games. I guess before we get into this, like, how did you find out about this? Because you nominated this, or this is your week, actually.
Doing the hard research. I think I was looking at Brent Spiner's filmography, and I saw Deadly
Always
Games
a good place.
And I clicked on it.
Yeah, to start.
It's like a series that he was in, and I thought he was the lead, which is why I picked this. So I was unpleasantly surprised that he wasn't in the first episode, but I was pleasantly surprised by what I did see.
True. Oh, speaking of which, it's time to put on my little hat here, even though it's not white. It's close enough, though. In honor of Christopher Lloyd. For Deadly Games. I sadly don't have like a white suit, because if I did, I'd wear it, but...
Nice.
Yeah, so Deadly Games, this came out in 95. It's like an action science fiction TV series that aired on UPN, so right off the bat, you can probably tell that it lasted like one season, because it was on UPN. The basic plot of the show is about video game characters that come to life, reenacting their deadly plans for wanton destruction, and world domination in the real world. The series was produced by Viacom Productions. Much was made that Leonard Nimoy was executive producer, creative consultant, and directed the pilot. So, it stars Christopher Lloyd, and sadly I don't have, like, the cast up here. What the fuck? I thought I did. Let me see here. Sorry. I done goofed. Deadly Games stars Christopher Lloyd, Cynthia Gibb, James Calvert, and Stephen Kay. I think those are like the top guys, it looks like.
I knew that.
Wait, what the fuck?
Not really. I've never heard of these guys before.
Well, I'm also like looking at the thing on IMDb, and when I click on Christopher Lloyd's character for like the show, it says his name is Jordan Kenneth Lloyd Sebastian Jackal. So I guess maybe the guy that he originally based him on was Jordan Kenneth Lloyd. Because you know how like there's a part in the show where he's like, I based all the bad guys or like, you know, all like the people off people I know. So it's like, but he never. I don't think he addresses that in the first episode of who Christopher Lloyd's character is based off, does he?
No, it's a mystery.
Yeah, but I guess he's based off a guy called Jordan Kenneth Lloyd. So a guy has the same last name as Christopher Lloyd. It's his brother. He's like, fuck you. It's like, okay. But yeah, I thought this was pretty sweet.
Yeah, me too. So
I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, what?
Yeah. It's an inherently very silly show, but I liked two things about it. One, it's like, it's played totally, not seriously, but like there's no irony.
Yeah.
Like there's no snarky humor, like...
It's,
like,
yeah.
You don't really see shows like this as much anymore. It was like completely earnest in its silly premise.
Know what I mean, bro?
I really appreciated that. And I also liked that it was kind of an action show, so there were like some legitimate stunts in it, which I'm always a big fan of.
I will say that like watching this on YouTube at 360p or whatever it was, if that was even the case, it was probably like 360i, sucks. It was...
Yep.
It sucks because apparently they made like a complete series DVD, like CBS home video, but like it's no longer made, and I couldn't find it on eBay, I couldn't find it on Amazon, like it's in Walmart at one point had it, but they're out of stock too, and I'm like, man, if anybody can find a copy of this, I would definitely be interested in it.
I did find it in a set with like 6 other
UPN
series that looked really crappy.
Wow.
It's like 90 hours of content.
Where'd you find that? Like on eBay, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I can't remember. I can dig it up.
You're like, it was $200. I'm like, I don't want it that much. Yeah, the problem is, this is like...
I definitely wanted to see more after watching this first episode.
Yeah, this show was doomed from the start because it was on UPN. UPN was like the worst version of CW before they became a thing. At least that's how I felt about it. It was like... You know what I mean? Like, any show that essentially... Then again, I guess you could say that about a lot of stuff back then in the day. Like, in the 90s, like, Fox was also, like, ordering a ton of shows and, like, would cancel them after, like, half a season. So it was, like, stuff was coming and going quick. So I'd never heard of this before, but I was glad that we watched it for sure. I did know that, like, I knew. I noticed that, like, at the beginning of this whole thing, like, Christopher Lloyd, like, Sebastian Jackal is, like, wanting to blow a football stadium up, and he's like, what a day to blow the heck out of a football stadium, and since he's, like, a program, and that's, like, kind of his objective in that episode, or, like, with the football guy, like, that, he also repeats that same thing later, like, that exact same quote, so it's, like, something that was programmed into him for, you know, it seemed like once he got to that point that he was gonna, like, actually do it, that it's like, you know what I mean, he had that line queued up, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
What'd you think about the footballer throwing like explosive footballs? They were like
It was so silly. It was so silly, and it looked so crappy. But
Yeah.
like I said, they were. This was just like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Too
You don't
bad.
see
Too bad I watched this before
a show
Ishtar.
this stupid. It's taken like.
Yeah.
It's not like ironic humor and stuff like that. So.
I want to point out now in the episode where you sent me the picture that we both talked about of Christopher Lloyd's face, where he makes this weird smile, and it's like, because he like cuts a hose, and like, but you don't know that's what he's doing. He's literally smiling, and it's like these dudes are about to get away, and it's like, what the fuck is he doing right now?
Yeah, that was awesome.
I thought it was a pickup shot, and like it was like somebody in Christopher Lloyd makeup because it looks so fucking weird. But I think it was him. It was just weird looking.
I also liked the rest of the cast, even though I was ragging on them, because like I thought they did a really good job.
Well, you just said you didn't know who they were. That doesn't mean you're ragging on them.
Yeah, they're playing this like it's going to be the biggest show on TV.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is I just wish that they would do that with more shows where like even if they knew that maybe this was going to suck, like people would at least try.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it's not the actors. It's like what will happen is you'll get like a show and it's I don't know. Oh, love the hat and shirt. Thank you. It just gets all like, I don't know, it comes off like cheesy because they don't even, it's like the dialogue that's written and like they don't try to make it work. I guess like in this one there was some dialogue, but I actually have some stuff written down that I was like, I can't believe this person said that. But like they sold it, so I wasn't like, okay, whatever. I like the game over. It was like rest in peace, and it had like 2 tombstones on it, which I thought was funny. I was like, okay, so that's when I knew. I was like, okay, this is the kind of show we're in for here. I thought this was actually pretty realistic. This conversation is like something you would hear at like a LAN or like online playing with other people. Some people just don't want to listen, like when the guy was trying to tell them how to play the game. I was like, holy shit. I think the people that wrote this like kind of knew what they were getting into here, because a lot of times you'll get these shows that have like dialogue that's supposed to be like geek speak, like Big Bang Theory, and it's obvious that it's written by people that have never played a game or never like use that whatever they're referencing, and you're like, people that don't know that think it's hilarious, but people that have seen it, it's like, okay, this is not funny at all. The football player like slaps the main character, and it's like the safest slap ever. So I don't know if that guy was just like, I don't want to slap him for real, because when he hit him, it was like he's like, see you around, geek, and he's like, and it was like, okay. Yeah. What'd you think about this? I thought this was something that never really kind of like you never really see this guy again, but like the boyfriend that's going to become like the husband possibly. He says this line, and I thought this was so weird to say. Okay, so he says, I don't know how you do it. Great cook, career woman, sexual gymnast, and it pans over and there's this older lady sitting there. And you find out that's his fucking mom. And you're like...
Yeah, that was hilarious, dude.
Who the fuck says that in front of their own mother, let alone someone else in the room? Like, I'm like, how fucking weird was that? Like, I thought it was maybe like... I was like, okay, is this like, whose mother is this? This has to be someone's mother or something. But just in general, to say that in front of somebody, I was like, holy shit. The husband shows up, the main character, with a gun, and he's flipping out about how she's getting married. I'm like, today that would have warranted, like, an instant phone call to the police, because, you know what I mean? Like, that guy pulls up with a gun, and he's like, I need to talk to you, and, like, the husband-to-be and the mother are like, okay, well, we'll see you later. I'm like, they're just leaving her to be, like, murdered, essentially. So I have a note here. Pretty much, like, I've been around for 40 years, and what I'm about to utter now is probably, like, the nerdiest, geekiest, like, most loser thing I've ever heard someone say. And I quote, "After you left me and ruined my life, I took up playing video games." I said, what a great way to get into a woman's heart. He says that to his ex-wife, and I was like, what the fuck? I was just like, I couldn't believe that he said that. I thought it was so funny, but I was just like, damn, dude.
I've heard geekier.
No, you haven't. You're like, you just said it. You're like, I heard geekier when you just recited that. I'm like, shit. A reciting of a quote is geekier than the original.
Of this podcast.
No. I don't think so. I think we're pretty hip. I think we're hip with it.
Hey, Macarena. Ah!
Don't you think I deserve to be consulted, though, Matt? It's like, what? Yeah. This whole show was pretty legit, man.
Yeah, I definitely want to see the rest of it. And looking at some of the villain of the weeks who show up, it's probably continues to be really fun to watch.
I don't really want to like watch this like without getting a better version of it, because I was like, dude, this looks like shit. Because like no one's uploaded a better version. You can't find. When I went to go to like just watch, it's like impossible to find. All it brings up is Deadly Games the movie, which I was like, dude.
I thought it was a Headley game.
Yeah, I fucked that up. Headley Games. A porno.
Better title.
I don't even know what that means, Headley Games.
I don't either.
I liked when the footballer was wearing like an army uniform over his regular uniform, like his football uniform. I don't know why I thought that was hilarious. Because it was like, he's like a freaking Frankenstein. And he gives a wedgie through like a roof. Really legit.
That was funny.
They have a line here about like he's giving clues like the Riddler, and I was like, Christopher Lloyd would have been an awesome Riddler. Just give him a green suit. But Christopher Lloyd for me made this show by far. He was so good, and it's like
the taped up mask
and ruin it.
That's my hashtag. That's my Riddler.
Fuck you.
That's not my Riddler. Not true.
That's my fuck you of the season. Yeah, it was. I mean, I'm glad that you picked this one.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. It was satisfying. It's just what Weird Watches is for.
Mm-hmm. This line though sums up later in the podcast. Are you telling me I'm in this living hell to the end? She sums up Ishtar by saying, and Jackal agrees by saying, I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah. I say if I can get my hands on the DVD, I'll buy it. Out of all the shows we've watched, this is probably the one that had the most like promise for what like could have been for me with the premise. Like I would have liked to have seen this go more than one season. All the other ones were cool, but most of them have gotten more seasons. But I think this one actually. The problem is if they came out with this now, it would be completely different. Like it would have been, filmed differently and all this stuff. They just don't make stuff like this anymore. Like science fiction isn't made really like this anymore, sadly.
No, it's science.
That's true. It's dog shit. It's shit of dog. But yeah. I guess like I said, we'd try to continue watching it if. I try to continue watching it, but I can't. Do you have any final words on Deadly Games?
The games were Headley.
Yes. Is that your final word?
Yes.
I would recommend this to anybody to see for sure. It's rough to watch in its frame rate, but and it's like aspect, but if you can get like a better version of it, I'd say watch it for sure. Cool. Okay. I guess we're gonna move on to this week. Matt said we're gonna do top 5 1987 films because that's the year that Ishtar came out. We couldn't really think of anything else. You were like, either we should skip
top 5 slogs.
We should either skip this year or this year. Let's just skip the entire year. Skip it, or we should just do this. And I was like, yeah, we did that one other time, and it was fun. So I always think these are fun regardless. It kind of gives us a chance to like mess around with something we might not mess around with otherwise, as far as like adding things that we might not ever talk about. You know what I mean? So it's fun.
Revealing all the behind the scenes secrets of Buddy Shotz.
Well,
showing how the sausage is made.
It's no big secret. This is the bare minimum of what someone can do for a podcast. But according to Matt, this is the most losery thing you can do is do this podcast. So by proxy, anyone watching this is a loser. So what's your number 5?
Number 5 is
My buddy
Planes,
boy.
Trains, and Automobiles.
Nice. That's on my
Classic.
honorable mentions.
Hilarious comedy. My family watches it every Thanksgiving, and it's always funny and great.
They watch it while they're watching the Buddy Shotz podcast on another TV right next to it. They're cheering it on. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time, but yeah, it's a good film from what I remember.
Probably my favorite John Candy movie.
Sadly,
awesome.
He wasn't in enough stuff before he passed away. I mean, he was in a bunch of stuff, but he wasn't in, before he got sent to that big
Candyland.
camp, Candy in the Sky. Yeah, Candyland.
John Candy and his brother Calvin.
Yeah. They're like, Mike, again. My number 5 is Harry and the Hendersons.
Dude, that's awesome. It's a good movie.
It is. It's one of the, I think it's the best Bigfoot suit ever that I've ever seen, as far as like in a film. And it's funny because it's not, it's like a comedy too, so that's kind of funny that we both picked a comedy as our like 5th one. But like, it's also one of those things where like, I remember watching it and being like, I feel like to me it's a classic. It's kind of like a classic, like Ernest movies are a classic, where it's like everybody's seen them, but they probably wouldn't admit to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, obviously it's never going to be like movie of the year or anything like that. But for growing up with it and stuff, it was a movie of the year for
Personal
me.
fave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's what it's all about.
this is what it's all about now. Okay, number 4.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Nice. I didn't even know that came out that year.
Yeah.
I like looked up a bunch of movies and that never came up. What the fuck? Huh. That's fucked up. I didn't know.
Would it have been in your top 5?
It would have got an honorable mention. I mean, actually, it came out in '86.
Oh no!
That's
Really?
why. Yeah, that's why it never showed up. 1986.
I looked on Box Office Mojo, so it must have made money in 1987 or been in theaters. But
I mean, it came out on December 19th of '86, so yeah, it would have still been in the thing. So Matt's disqualified as usual. He fucked up. That's okay. We'll accept it. My number 4 is a movie that did come out in 1987. No, I'm just kidding. No,
did the assignment
well, no, what happened was I went on Google and I typed in, like movies 1987, and it showed, you get to see a bunch of lists of movies. Because, like, I can't remember, you know what I mean, like what came out in 87, so that's how I had to pick mine. But, like, Prince of Darkness, number 4.
Nice. It's higher on my list.
A film that we've talked about in length.
See our previous episode.
Yeah, for me, like, I like this film, but I haven't watched it as much as these other films I have on this list, and I wouldn't put it above any of these other films because I haven't watched it as much, because it's like, if I haven't watched a film a bunch, that means I probably don't care enough to go back and watch it again. You know what I mean? Like, I liked it, and every once in a while I'll get a thing to go back and watch it again, but it's definitely one of those ones where I have to be in the mood to watch it. So it's not like, I feel like it's a good movie and it's a great movie, but it's not like a classic for me like other John Carpenter films are. So yeah, great film. But see what we thought in depth. in our other episode.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Number 3, Predator.
Number 9.
Starring Arnold.
Nice. I have that in my
all-time faves.
honorable mentions. I think I have a full screen version of that because they gave you the wrong version or something from Best Buy. And you
messed up.
You gave that to me. You're like, here you go. You want this? I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? So, I'm one of the only people to ever own a full screen version of Predator. Yeah, motherfucker. Just kidding.
Be proud.
Be proud. Be loud. Fucking Predator.
Yeah, I love any Arnold movie, but if you throw in like one of the coolest aliens ever on top of that, it's like
who, Quark? he's like, no, he's like, did I do that? Nog, yeah, Nog played. That would actually be hilarious if Nog was played or Rom was played by fucking Steve Urkel.
No, I was picturing
that's essentially
show up on the Predator and Arnold just blows him away.
Yeah. He just blows him. Yeah, Oogie. Fucking their mom or whatever. It's like the most wrinkliest person in the fucking show besides the Grand Negus. It's like, hey. Okay, so my number 3 is also a science fiction film. Spaceballs.
Nice.
Watch out. They're the Spaceballs. They're the masters of space. Don't mess around.
And we've picked so many comedies. It's like, it makes me wish that comedies were still a thing. You know?
I was about to be a dumbass and say they are, but then I was like, wait a minute, they haven't made like an actual comedy, and like, the problem is now comedies aren't funny, and like straight like action films try to be comedies and they're not, and it's like everybody tries to do that fucking Marvel humor, or that it's not even Marvel humor, it's what I call as the SNL humor. Where like when SNL back in the day when we would watch it and a skit would go on too long, that was the original like Marvel humor for me. Like, this skit's going on too long, this sucks, or like Mad TV, this sucks, or anything on Fridays. You know, that was the original, like, I guess you would say cringe, but now it's like that's what everything is. Not everything, there are exceptions, but not in movie form from what I've seen, like you were saying. Like, the smart comedies, like, you know, like, they don't do, like, Mel Gibson smart comedies where everybody plays stuff straight and the humor is from, like, the absurd that's happening. So, like, they don't make Mel Gibson stuff anymore. They don't make, like, Leslie Nielsen, so they don't do, like, Airplane or, like, you know, Police Squad or, like, Loaded Weapon or, you know, any of these. They gotta, like, hammer it into people's head. They wouldn't dream of having, like, something in the background funny happening because they were like, what if people don't see it? There's our joke's gone. It's like, okay. But yeah, I guess the soapbox has been taken away from me by myself.
I'm with you on that one.
I'm like, thank you. What about your number 2? Oogie!
Darkness.
Nice.
I think I
just talked about that one.
Yeah, and we just did a whole episode on it.
You hear about this? You hear about this Prince of Darkness? I don't know why he turned into Mickey Mouse, but yeah, I love the movie. It's just I put these in order like by like how many times I've seen it and like just in general like how I hold them. You'll probably be surprised. Maybe
my favorite Carpenter movie.
I'm
so awesome.
like, I disagree. It's not your favorite. Not even close. I'm trying to think what my favorite Carpenter film would be. Probably The Thing. Spoiler alert. That's probably like, I feel like to me that's probably his best film by far. And I don't know. I mean, Prince of Darkness is still good. There's just some downtime in it, but I don't want to say too much for people that want to watch our in-depth review. Go back, hit the like button, subscribe, and thumbs down, and report the channel. Wait, don't do those last 2 things. Shit. My number 2, Lethal Weapon.
Nice. That's an honorable mention for me, but I love it.
I've seen Lethal Weapon, like, if I could, I would say like one of the other Lethal Weapons, but like it's the one that started it all, and every so often I'll go back and watch all the Lethal Weapon films. I think by far they're probably the best for action, not for action, but for like a cohesive movie because like a lot of movies have a ton of action in them, but they're like boring, if that makes sense. Whereas like the characters make you entertained enough in Lethal Weapon to keep watching. So like yeah, it's just great stuff. Lethal Weapon, like, I feel like revolutionized the whole like buddy cop thing coming back, or at least like making it like interesting again, because there's so many like rip-offs of it that happened after that essentially. So Lethal Weapon,
like two better than one.
Yes.
Me too.
Oh yeah.
But
Well, no, I think for me, a lot of times sequels, as much as people were like, oh, sequels suck, like a lot of times like sequels iron out what was good about the first one but needed to be improved. Like Spider-Man 2 with Sam Raimi is better than Spider-Man 1. You know what I mean? And like, you know, it just depends. There are some originals that are better than the sequel. But we'll get on to the number one here in a minute, because do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah.
You're like, but I will never tell them.
Hellraiser, RoboCop,
Yeah.
Hoosiers, our previous episode, although I think that may have been 86 too in December.
What the fuck are you doing?
I was looking at movies that were in theaters in 87.
That's fucking...
I have no...
You're fucked. I'm fucked.
Up.
We're fucked.
Start over.
Start over. I'm like, hey guys, this is Mike from the Buddy Shotz podcast, episode 83, Mad Week. I didn't even do that at the beginning. What the fuck am I thinking?
Any honorable mentions for you?
Yes. I have the Monster Squad. I just saw that recently, and you know, within the last couple of years, and was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good. It's just one of those ones I never watched as a kid, but I think it's supposed to be like a cult classic. I thought it was pretty good for what it was.
I liked how Dracula kept calling a little kid a bitch.
Yeah. I also
like, that's weird.
Yeah, I also like that, like, that they had all the monsters in there. Like, I like they had like the Gill Man and stuff, and they all kind of were like Dracula's like pawns or whatever. Yeah, I had RoboCop on there. I had Predator on here. The Running Man.
Running Man's great.
Yeah.
Love it.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Predator, which I think I might already said that. Jaws: The Revenge.
Sorry to interrupt, but I always think of in Running Man.
Yeah.
How when we watched it, you said something that cracked me up, where you were like, the worst thing that happened in that movie was when that janitor got fired for no reason. Remember that?
Yeah. It was bullshit.
You're right.
It didn't really make any sense. I was like, okay. That was the beginning of my like pointing shit out that doesn't make sense and like it ruining the movie for me.
Like a dude gets chainsawed in half, but yet that janitor getting fired was the true horror.
I think that guy was kind of like knew it was going to happen. Well, he probably didn't know it was going to happen, but like the guy that got chainsawed in half.
His name was Buzzsaw.
Yeah, he was part of like a game where it's like killing, right? So it's like, what do you think was going to happen? The Living Daylights.
Yeah.
Princess Bride, and shout out to one of our previous episodes, Real Men. Man.
I thought about
you thought about putting it there? No. I would have known you thought it was a joke pick. I'm like, I would have known you thought it was a joke pick. Not that it was. So what's your number one?
Ishtar. Loved it. How about you? I'm assuming the same, right?
Yeah. Even though you already
fucked
fucked that joke up by saying you hated it at the beginning of the podcast.
My real number one is Full Metal Jacket.
Nice.
I think that movie's amazing. Especially the first hour is like nothing. It's like no other movie.
It's so good, it's nothing.
It's nothing. It's like no other movie.
I will say that movie is very unique, and it's like I feel like it's awesome, but I can't watch it ever again, because after watching it once, I was like, this movie's kind of fucked up. Like, it scarred me.
It's highly disturbing.
So it's kind of like Pulp Fiction. It's a good movie, but stuff happens in the film that I don't really like to see. So I will give it like a thumbs up. I had a feeling you were probably going to pick it at some point, so I didn't even put it on my honorable mentions, but like I didn't think it was going to be number one. But I'm glad that it made the list.
Yep.
My number one is one I'm shocked that wasn't picked before, even in honorable mentions. And speaking of sequel being better than the first one, Evil Dead 2.
Nice. Yeah, I mean,
He's
Evil
back.
Dead 2 is great.
Yeah.
No question.
The only reason I picked that one
I
because
prefer-
I've seen it
It's
more.
my least favorite of the series.
I think, yeah, I don't know. I think for a while there, I thought Army of Darkness was the worst of the series for me. But
I mean, they're all
I'll watch
great,
it again.
so it's
You're like, actually, they're all the worst. Fuck this. I'm like, you know what? You're right. Evil Dead sucks, actually. Holy shit! I just thought how bad it was. I've just seen this one the most, I think. And it was by choice. It wasn't like, you know, I was at somebody's house and they fucking popped it in. It was like I would put it in and kind of just watch it in the background and enjoy it and stuff like that. And I think that's also how like I gauge stuff. Like I think one of the most watched films I've ever watched is like The Thing or like the Dawn of the Dead original, because I used to have like a smaller TV that I would put that movie on in the background and do stuff. So like, yeah, the pre-second monitor days. Hook a PS2 up to a small TV and watch a movie. So yeah, good
You're
stuff,
right.
man.
That should have been an honorable mention for me. Evil Dead 2 is great.
You're like, you're right. I'm wrong once again.
How many mistakes will I make in this episode?
Well, you know, we will not be keeping track because we love you. We love you. Okay, so you ready to go on to the feature presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
So I've prepared a statement.
I actually have one too, but you go ahead since it's Matt week. You know what's so funny is that we both fucking prepared statements for this fucking
What are the
film.
odds? All right, here goes. I, Matt, being of sound mind and body, and not under any outside influences other than my own imagination, do hereby apologize for my most recent pick on the Buddy Shotz podcast. Although I offer no excuses for my actions and take full responsibility for them, I'd like to explain my reasoning in an attempt to bring forgiveness and understanding to the unfortunate situation I've created. On August 18th, 2022, I chose the film Ishtar for the following week, also known to the world as Matt Week. My reasons were threefold. Firstly, I had never picked a movie I hadn't seen before, and I felt the time was long overdue to make that choice. Secondly, the movie in question was a notorious flop that has seen some revised thinking over the years by movie fans at large. Knowing this, Ishtar had the potential, in my mind, to be two of my favorite kinds of movie: a bafflingly awful train wreck, or the unfairly tarnished gem ripe for discovery. It was not either of these things. And lastly, in the past I've wrongfully and hurtfully lambasted other buddies for picking comedies, as I find them the most challenging category to podcast about. I chose a comedy in an attempt to repent for this way of thinking and to challenge both myself and Mike. In conclusion, I apologize for picking Ishtar and will work harder than ever before to make sure nothing like this ever happens again. May the podcast gods have mercy on my soul. The end.
I think you need to start writing this podcast. That was fucking beautiful. What the hell, dude? How long did you spend writing that?
I got to bed about 2:30.
Wow. Damn.
I screwed up.
That was I don't think anything we can ever say on this podcast for this episode is gonna beat that. Holy shit.
We should just end it.
Well, I mean, after watching this movie, I wanted to.
I mean, Ishtar sucked, but not in like a fun way. It was just boring as hell and stupid.
Yeah, so like when we started this podcast a year and a half ago, like we had watched some films, you know, like I loved, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Ed Wood, Glen or Glenda, Castle of Cagliostro, some movies I hated, Tusk, Kong vs. Godzilla, Universal Soldier, Day of Reckoning, The Last Bit of AVGN. And I've never stopped taking notes, and I was close to some of these, but Ishtar fucking has broken that mold. And it's a league of its own. I, by the end of this, couldn't give a fuck less, dude, and I stopped. So, we'll get into it here, I guess, and talk about it, but, yeah. So, what the fuck is Ishtar? Well, Ishtar is a 1987 American adventure comedy film Written and directed by Elaine May and produced by Warren Beatty, who co-starred opposite Dustin Hoffman. The story revolves around a duo of incredibly untalented American songwriters who travel to a booking in Morocco and stumble into a 4-party Cold War standoff. That's way more interesting than what actually happens in the film.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is gonna be hard because like it's gonna be like I've got like some notes here, but it's hard to describe the
Well, I'll start off
boringness
because the first like 10 or 15 minutes of this movie, I was really enjoying it. I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun. Like, I thought it was funny.
It was essentially like the credits of them kind of getting like
the
these
credits.
people into like getting you into seeing them how they make songs and stuff, and
you realize that they suck at making songs and like they're horrible and they're so obsessed with it that both their wives leave them.
Yeah,
but they're buddies and they have a dream.
Yeah.
And I thought it was genuinely funny. Like, you sent me that clip from the club where they're like trying out their songs.
There's a guy.
I was cracking up.
Yeah.
Warren Beatty was like, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, they were like
it was really funny.
People watching, and they were like in shock. One dude looked like he was like having a flashback from like Nam or something, watching him perform. I wish it would have been that bad though. I wish the fucking movie would have been that bad. I wish it would have been like. So I'm not shitting on these movies. I'm not shitting on Tusk or Universal Soldier. Like, I didn't like them. Some parts of the movie offended me, but they fucking, like, I'm talking about them still. Fucking Ishtar, like, I wish Ishtar was Tusk or Universal Soldier: Day of Reckoning,
or Cruel Jaws. I mean, Cruel Jaws is a super entertaining,
right? Because at least there's something to make me feel something. Those movies got me pissed off, or got me like, you know, like, this is why I didn't like it, or like, this is why I liked Glen or Glenda. This is why I liked Who Framed Roger Rabbit. This was just like, I want to be doing something else, like, while I'm watching this film. Like, I want to go fucking play games, or I want to like watch something else, but I have to fucking watch this for the podcast. And it was just like, I mean, not like it's like that's the worst thing in the world, but like, you know, it's like when you're told you got to do something and it fucking sucks, it's like, you know, it's just like, fucking fuck this shit, man. It was just boring.
From the second they got to Ishtar to the end of the movie, it was like a death march.
Yeah. Because it wasn't as
like
they were trying
sub sitcom level storytelling. Like the humor is terrible. It just was not interesting at all. It sucked.
This was like bargain Indiana Jones over here.
Oh!
It was dog shit.
How late were you up working on that one?
I actually just came up with that one off the top of my head.
Nice.
I'm just too sweet.
I mean, when the funniest part of the movie is Warren Beatty doesn't know how to pronounce the word schmuck, you know you're in trouble. Because that made me chuckle.
Warren Beatty is so much taller than Dustin Hoffman too. He's like a full like head and a half taller than him, which works out in the film. Like, there are things about this that, like, on the surface, like you were talking about, like, it's like they had something here, but they just didn't know when the fuck to like cut it off. Like, at the very, very end of the film, they, like, are firing on, like, the CIA who are trying to kill them.
Shooting rocket launchers. I'm like, what?
And it's become, like, they're trying to make you think this is, like, an action film. And it's, like, nothing up to this point has made me, like, give a fuck about this and made me be like, this is, like, you know, action and stuff. And it's, like, now it is. And it's, like, what the fuck am I watching? Like, why the fuck should I care? Like,
it's bad.
It sucks.
A couple other highlights that I'd like to just point out.
Yeah.
I thought Warren Beatty was really funny and good at playing like a huge dumbass, basically.
Yeah, he's an idiot, and like, what's his face is like his essential like leader, like the guy that kind of keeps him on track, like Dustin Hoffman. Like, I always liked Dustin Hoffman, like, in everything. Well, not in everything. This movie sucked, but he was.
They're not the problem.
Yeah, true. They had some good stick together, like when he buys the blind camel, and he's like, "What's wrong with him? Is he blind?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's a fucking blind camel." And it's like that shtick was kind of. It's like they had like 2 jokes in this film, and then they wrote a movie around it, but they forgot to
Yeah.
add more jokes in, and they forgot to like actually. The best part was when they were just together and like working off of each other. But there's big parts in this film where they split them fucking up for no reason.
I know, it's so horrible.
And it's like, and they have this stupid fucking love plot with this like random lady that's supposed to be like, you know, working for this other organization, and the CIA's trying to get Dustin Hoffman to fucking like work for them, and it's like, this, like, Real Men puts this fucking movie to shame. That movie,
totally.
This was fucking like, you know, I can't think of a
about
word
as bad
for
as
it.
it gets, dude.
Yeah,
Because we both say it all the time, like, the worst sin a movie can be is boring, and this is one of the most boring movies I've ever
this
seen.
is the movie. This is the movie that was fucking boring. Like there have been parts of other movies that have been boring to me. Never like 99% of a movie. You know, it was like there were two things probably in this movie that was interesting, and the rest of it was like, fuck off. Like,
did you know what the budget of this movie was?
no, I actually didn't. What is it?
$55 million.
Holy shit.
Can you believe that?
I bet a lot of that was probably being dumb and shooting on locations and shit, like flying them around.
Even still, come on, $55 million?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty
insanity.
sure they didn't do anything to like save any sort of money. I'm sure they like bought those fucking camels, and I'm sure they fucking bought everything they could. They probably bought the sand they were walking on or some shit.
That's irresponsible.
Yeah, I think that's what it was irresponsible just in general.
What a waste.
Yeah. What a waste for such a shit outcome.
It doesn't show at all. Like, I would have guessed like 5 million tops.
Well, that's because like a lot of the locations are like, you know, they're inside or they're like in a market somewhere, and it's like that doesn't warrant $55 million or whatever you said, like being in just a fucking market walking around, like, because it's like the people walking around, you could have just had those be people on the street. They didn't have to be fucking extras. Like, I don't know. I do not know, man. Like,
Did you read Roger Ebert's review?
no, I think after I was done with this, I completely forgot like anything to do with it. So I just kind of
You're
like,
smart.
He
He wrote a great review though. He
nice.
hated it. He said, just a couple highlights from the review.
Mm-hmm.
Ishtar is a truly dreadful film, a lifeless, massive, lumbering exercise in failed comedy.
Mm-hmm.
The plot is so thin it hardly could support a 5-minute TV sketch.
Yes.
It's not funny, it's not smart, and it's interesting only in the way a traffic accident is interesting. But my favorite part is the end where he said, I guess it quickly became a doom project, and going to set every morning was more like a death sentence than an opportunity. It said this movie cost more than $40 million. At some point, maybe they should have just spun off $1 million each for Hoffman and Beatty and supplied them with their own personal camera crews and allowed them spare time to talk about what they were going through, which is totally true.
Yeah.
That would have been way better.
Honestly, if they had done that and released it as well as the film, fucking that probably would have still been selling to this day.
Yeah.
Like money, it would have sold money. It would have sold copies because people love behind the scenes stuff, especially of Doom projects and shit. It's like, there's a glimmer of something earlier in the movie where like Warren Beatty is comforting Dustin Hoffman, and he's like, I'm a loser, I'm like a liar, like I suck, I have nothing. And it's like, imagine if Ishtar wasn't in the film, if it was literally just about these two guys, and it was just in New York or whatever, and it's like,
It would have been a classic comedy.
Yeah. But they had to do some fucking random, like, oh, this is exotic, this is in Morocco. It's like, how many times has this been done before this? Like,
I know.
It's in better ways. It's just like, you know, I don't know if they were trying to be like Bob Hope and whoever else here,
right.
But it was like, these guys are great. It's just, they weren't given the opportunity to do anything.
I now understand why this movie is infamous, because it's not bad in like you got to see how bad this is.
Yeah, it's not like
it's
Birdemic or The
bad
Room.
in a way that makes you hate it.
Right. because Birdemic in the Room, if we were to ever watch these for the podcast, we'd have so many notes on what was so funny about it, and this is so stupid. This is just like, I can't. It's like, so say like a fucking explosion happened, and I'm trying to like tell. I'm a police officer, and I'm trying to tell people don't go over there. I can't fucking describe, if they can't see it, what the fuck I've witnessed. It's like, just don't go over there. Don't watch this fucking film. You know what I mean? Like, the amount of time that I have to fucking explain to you the fucking, like, bones and blood that I've witnessed over here in this explosion isn't gonna make you not see it anymore. So it's like, I don't know. I don't even know if that's a good reference, but it's just like, analogy, just, you know. I don't have enough words to fucking describe it.
It's not worth enough words, though, you know?
There was an interesting line where Dustin Hoffman, both of them, like, get tricked that this, like, woman is a man. And it's very obviously that she's not a man on both accounts.
That scene was funny.
Dustin Hoffman says, this is actually progressive, though. He says, I'm flattered, but I'm straight. I'm not proud of it, and I'm not ashamed of it. I respect your way of life. It just isn't mine. It doesn't mean that mine is any better or any worse. And I'm like, this is 1987, and this is more progressive than today. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. I was like, holy shit, that was kind of like a breath of fresh air. Would you shout out to Charles Grodin of Beethoven fame?
Yes. We have to mention that he's pretty funny in this. Like,
yeah.
As always, it's no surprise that he's great.
Yeah, those three. And then What's-Her-Face is in this, too. Dustin Hoffman's girlfriend. She was in a bunch of other, like, comedies, like she was in Princess Bride earlier, like this same year. She was in some Mel Gibson films. Carol Kane.
Yeah, Carol Kane.
That's the thing that was one of the things that made me kind of like, you know, interested, because we have fucking Warren Beatty, Dick Tracy himself. Fucking, we had, you know, Dustin Hoffman, which he was one of the only good things about Hook. Him and fucking Bob Hoskins, you know. I love him.
Oscar the next year after this for Rain Man.
Right. Like, they're not the problem. It's the fucking everything else around them is shit. When Warren Beatty is like, "You're soft, pal. You're soft." And then he, like, kisses what he thinks is, like, a boy, and he's like, what are you, like, 14? And he's like, here's some money, buy yourself something fun, like a kite or a fishing pole. And I was like, this whole scene is just, like, absurd, but it's, like, funny. And then he's like, are these breasts? And he's just continually feeling her up as she's, like, explaining some bullshit plot. And, like, she's like,
so dumb. It takes him, like, 10 minutes to understand.
But, like, that's what is funny, but that's literally, I think we talked about 3 scenes that were funny in this film.
Yeah, that was the last note I had, because after that, like, there was nothing.
Yeah.
This was, no pun intended, like a desert of entertainment.
Yeah, my next note is some plot about CIA and hiding things from each other. This movie is fucking putting me to sleep. Wizards' hoods, rug antics. Dustin Hoffman does some random, possibly racist noises. And then stop taking notes at this point, so I didn't even describe the last, like, 30 minutes of the film.
Yeah, I've already forgotten. Like, it's so forgettable. My last note was, I don't know why I wrote this, but they wrote the lyrics and the music.
Yeah, I remember that in one of the last scenes. I think he says that, because that's the whole thing, is like, you know, their agent that sent him over there ended up being like a guy for, like, the Liberation Front of Ishtar, I guess, or whatever. Which was like, okay, that's kind of an interesting thing, but you had to go through so much shit that by the time you got to that, who could possibly give a fucking shit? You know what I mean? Like, you literally, like, held this in your back pocket till everybody was out of the theater. You know? It's like, okay, I got a trick here. I'm going to show you. You know, here's the punchline, but you tell it to somebody like 2 hours after the joke's over. Like, okay, fuck off. But they ended up getting like a, an album and a live in concert where people have to be there, and there are like armed guards like holding everyone at like gunpoint and be like, clap, applaud, and shit like that. Which I was like, that's kind of funny, but it wasn't funny enough to like warrant waiting all the way to the end of the film to see this. Like, Yeah. So essentially they got like their album deal, but like only because the guy got what he wanted, and it was just kind of like, I don't know. Like, this could have been a feel good film. Like we were saying, if take out Ishtar, just have them start off being horrible and eventually get like a record deal or something at the very end of the film. They could have still had the feel good moment at the end of the film. Or just have them almost make it and fail, and they end up being maybe like they have to play on the street or something. Just anything is better than what happened
Even
here.
watching them like improvise, trying to make
music.
up bad songs would have been more entertaining.
Because they actually had some good, like interesting parts with fucking not interesting parts, but like cool things with Warren Beatty would come up with the whole song, and Dustin Hoffman's reaction was like, "Holy shit, dude! When you're on." Like, it's like you feel that, but then as soon as you get to Ishtar, that all that goes out the window. Like, no camaraderie. It's just, and I think they thought that was going to be interesting, but it just wasn't.
Sorry, man, I blew it.
No, it's okay. You didn't make the film. Like, you know, I can't be upset at you for a film you've never seen before. You know what I mean? Like, you haven't seen this film. Like, you didn't know how... Like, obviously people have said stuff about it, but that doesn't mean shit. People fucking say this sucks or that sucks, and they're completely wrong. Like, you know, it's an opinion anyway. Like, you know, Ebert said he hated films that we thought were fucking good. You know, I'll just say he's an idiot, but fucking that doesn't mean that he's any more right than I am. You know, except for I'm right and he's wrong. But, I don't really know what else to say about this, man, other than it was fucking dog shit.
Yeah, my final thought is I'll be shocked if we ever watch a worse movie than this. This is a new low.
I think I'm going to have to agree with you on this. I mean, like, unless we watch, like, a film of, like, just 2 hours of, like, a wall. Like, yeah, literally... It's like this movie was like an entertainment vampire, and it just sucked the fucking fun out of the room. I was just like looking for anything to do while I was fucking watching this. The only solace I had was that I actually put it on my phone and started playing a game on my computer at that point. That's how fucking bad this was. And when it finally crossed the finish line, I didn't even cheer. I was just like, it's over. Like, you know. Fuck this. So what are you gonna give this fucking film? This is Matt week. We're gonna let you give your piece first here. Unless you want to go last.
I'm gonna go 1.95.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, I mean.
No, I put the exact same thing.
Oh really?
Yes.
I mean, it could have gone lower, but there were a couple.
Yeah,
times where I laughed.
Yeah,
so I'll give it that.
I do the exact same thing because it has Warren Beatty, it has Dustin Hoffman, and there were a couple things that were interesting and funny, and I have 3 fingers up, and that's 3 things that were funny and interesting in the film, that I remember. But like I said, I personally didn't like Tusk, and I personally didn't like Universal Soldier. But they're fucking better than this fucking film. Like they're watchable. Like there's something that something about that makes me upset. You know, whatever. Who cares? But this just fucking, I don't ever want to watch this film again. Like, I don't want to talk about it again. Like, I'm sure we'll bring it up when we talk about like, hey, at least this is better than Ishtar. You know, we'll probably reference that. But like, it's just boring. It's like we've never gone this low before, but like I don't think they've ever made a movie lower than this before, unless you're watching like snuff films, like actual murder, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it
deserves its reputation as a terrible movie.
Well, the thing that's funny is like there's so many things out there. It's the worst movie ever made. Fuck off with that. Troll 2 is not the worst movie ever made. It's fucking Citizen Kane compared to this dog shit.
Dude, Troll 2 is hilarious.
It's great! Fucking, yeah, I hate when people say it's the worst movie ever made. The Room's the worst. It's not the worst movie ever made. I've fucking seen the worst movie ever made, and it's fucking Ishtar.
Troll 2 had the guts to create a movie called Troll 2 with no trolls in it.
And 2 people that kissed and popcorn exploded from a thing of corn. Maybe we should try that on the Halloween episode and see if it works, man. Probably not. So, are you ready to find out what next week's going to be?
Let's do it.
Okay, so next week, I think we're returning to Saturdays, right? Is that good?
And on it.
Okay, so next week, actually, before I give you the weird watches, I guess you're going to have to pick out a number here for the feature presentation. Let's do 4 through... I'm looking to see 4 through 16.
Lucky number 7.
Okay, we're watching lucky number 7. It's Ocean's 11 with George Clooney.
Oh, nice music.
Nice Clooney. And I am picking for next week the Orville.
Nice.
Seth. I think Seth MacFarlane Star Trek parody. I've wanted to watch this for a long time, but I personally kind of hate Seth MacFarlane. Like, I don't hate him as a person. I just think that like a lot of stuff he's done, like Family Guy and like, you know, Ted and all that stuff, is super overrated and isn't really funny. But I've heard from so many people that like the Orville is essentially like what Star Trek used to be, like how good it was, you know, back in like the 90s and stuff, with like, you know, Voyager and Deep Space Nine and Enterprise, like back when it was like actually about like science fiction. So I'm excited, and I think right now the Orville is on, like, they just added it. Do you still have a Disney Plus membership or no?
No, I canceled that after the Obi-Wan show.
Let me just check and see where it's at. Here for you. It's on... It says it's also on, like, Hulu. I don't know if you have Hulu or not.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm sure I can figure it out here for you. I'm like, I can figure it out for you. I'll come over and wipe your butt for you, too. Just kidding, I won't do that. So, yeah, next week is feature presentation, Ocean's 11, and another show that starts with O, The Orville, for Weird Watches.
Week.
Week. Overing week. Yeah, I guess, do you have any other things to say really about, like, Ishtar? Like, I mean, I think we've kind of said everything that we should ever say about this dog shit. I'm glad... I was about to say I'm glad you picked it, but I'm glad you picked it now so that we never have to watch it again. Yeah.
I'm glad I got it out of my system because I've wondered about it for like my years and years.
You're about to say your whole life.
Pretty much.
I
mean, I've always known about it.
You were born and your dad was like about to name you Ishtar. You were like, Dad. He was going to name you Ishtar before you were born. Or like not before you were born, before Ishtar was a thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think this week we learned a lot, man.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to bring up like that I didn't like certain films, but I just had to have a comparison, you know what I mean, to how bad this fucking film was. I'm Mike from the Buddy Shots podcast, and that's, he's Matt, and every week, check us out on Steak Belmont 64 on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, and TikTok, and we put these up on Tuesdays on YouTube. I'm going to let you have the last word as usual, Matt. Say anything you like. Use your broad vocabulary or repertoire.
I